Olympia, Ronnie, Olympia, Haney, Olympia, Arnold, Mr. Olympia, Dorian, Olympia, Jay Cutler, Olympia, Dexter, Mr. Olympia, Frank Zane, Mr. Olympia, Franco, Olympia, Larry Scott, Olympia, Sergio, it's the Olympia, Mr. Olympia, Chris Dixon, who's gonna win and feel. What's up, bros and broettes? It's the BroHammer here. It is the Super Bowl of bodybuilding this weekend. It's the 2017 Mr. Olympia. So on Friday we have the prejudging, Saturday the finals. But most everybody knows that usually the show is won Friday night. But let's see who's competing. So looks like we have Rolly Winkler. He's competing. Johnny Jackson, Nathan D'Asha, Lucas Osladell, Lionel Bayeki, Sean Roden, Josh Lenardowitz, Cedric McMillan, Jeff Beckham. I've never heard of him actually. Big Ramy, Gerald Williams, Victor Martinez, the Dominican Dominator, Brandon Curry, William Bonac, Michael Lockett, Dexter the Blade Jackson, Max Charles, and of course, the champion, Phil Heath. I'm just going to go ahead and start with my top 5. Who do I think is going to be this year? Looking at the list, at number 5, I'm going to have to put Dexter Jackson. You know, this guy's almost 50 years old, and he's still the Blade, still looks good. Actually added a little size, you know, in the past couple of years. So I got Dexter as number 5. At number 5, he's always in that top 5 of the Olympia. Round muscle bellies. He's not missing anything. Legs haven't started diminishing. Like most guys, when they get older in their career, bodybuilders, the legs are the first thing to go. Dexter's legs are still on point. Everything is on point. And you know, he has that old man, grainy looking muscle. Number 4, I'm going to go with Sean Roden at number 4. Sean Roden has a very, very aesthetic, pretty physique. All the lines. He's not the biggest guy, but he doesn't need to be. Because, you know, most of the time he just out-pretties everybody that, you know, is behind him in the lineup. His back isn't the widest or, you know, densest, thickest, but he has a lot of detail. And, of course, now that Kai Green is no longer competing at the Mr. Olympia, I think Sean Roden has the best wheels or legs in the lineup. At number 3, I got Big Ramy at number 3. He's always the wild card in there, like, what is Ramy going to do? How is he going to come in? Is he going to be conditioned or is he just going to be big? I remember one contest, I think it was the Arnold in Brazil. Ramy came, he stepped on stage at 316, they said. He out-muscles everybody. I think that may have been a little too big for Ramy. I think he needs to probably come in and around the 290, 295 range to be in shape, because he's still going to be the biggest man on stage by at least 10, 15 pounds, right? There's no need to just, you know, overdo it for the sake of conditioning as far as the size goes. And Ramy actually has a very, very aesthetically pleasing physique for a man his size. You know, small waist, great looking V-taper, big legs, full muscle bellies, wide back. You know, he has everything. And Ramy is still young. I believe he's like, he maybe just now in his 30s. He hasn't even really hit his peak. Usually bodybuilders start hitting their peak mid to late 30s. Ramy's still getting that hardness, that graininess in his muscle, or like I said, that old man muscle. At number 2, this is gonna shock a lot of people. I think Cedric McMillan is gonna be number 2, and I think he's gonna push Phil harder than he's been pushed in a long time, since Kai. Really. And I wouldn't be surprised if Cedric got a first place vote or two. Cedric McMillan, he'll be the tallest man in the lineup at 6'1". I believe he's 6'1", 6'2". His was not his trainer, but I guess you would call him his coach, his diet coach guru, Chris Aceto, brought him in at the Arnold Classic. And I believe he said he was 283, 282. Usually Cedric competes at, I think it's around 260, 265 range. Maybe it's about 265, 270. So coming in a full 10 to 15 pounds bigger on a frame like his, it looks incredible. He looked really good at the Arnold Classic. The knock on Cedric is his conditioning. It seems that he's not willing to go that extra mile for the conditioning. But here's the thing, though: if he does, has he tried it before, and he's just too flat? Cedric has, to me, he has one of the most aesthetically pleasing physiques I've seen in a long time. You know, he has all the great lines and proportions of the classic era bodybuilders from the 70s and 80s, and he has the size and the mass of today's guys. But his waist is always small. You know, you never hear about Cedric having issues with his stomach, which a lot of guys are having issues with now, just with the distended bellies. Basically, if I was to aspire to have a physique like anybody in the IFBB, any pro bodybuilder today, it would be Cedric McMillan. Like me, myself, I'm 6'1". I would definitely want to look like that. I really think he's going to come in big. He's going to be full. And he's going to be a little more conditioned than usual, maybe 5% more conditioned. And he's going to push Phil to the limit. But of course, you know, Mr. Olympia, 6-time reigning Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath, I think he's going to win it again, y'all. He's what I call a hybrid. Great physique aesthetically, but the amount of muscle that he packs on is just ridiculous. And he has that grainy look, the full round muscle bellies. Like when he hits that that hand on hip, most muscular, I mean, the delts are just popping out. Everything is popping. And it's crazy because Phil isn't even that wide of a guy. He actually has very narrow clavicles, but excuse me, he's put so much size on his arms, his delts, his chest is thick. He just looks wider than he really is. He has all the detail. He really doesn't have any flaws in his physique. I mean, the only thing is that the narrow clavicles, but other than that, he has no flaws. He always comes in shape, and he just kills everybody. When he hits the back double bicep, he kills everybody in the lineup. When he's on point and he hits that shot, it's game over, pretty much for everybody, because glutes are in. A lot of people look for that now. Hamstrings popping, calves popping, Christmas tree popping, just all kind of detail all up and through the back. And it's aesthetic, you know. It's Phil, if he comes in looking like he usually does, Phil comes in at 95%, he's gonna win. I mean, that's just he's just a cartoon. He's a cartoon character, but he's an aesthetic cartoon character. You know, it is hard to knock Mr. Olympia off the top when he's on his game. Now, if he's off, then that's something else. If he's off, Cedric is on, Rami is on, I think one of those guys could possibly slip in and dethrone him. But I just don't see him being that off, because he's not compared to the field. He's always compared to himself. How did he look last year or the year before? 2011, a lot of people said, oh man, that's hands down the best field. Then he comes last year and they're like, oh man, that's the best field. He's always compared to himself. He's never compared to the field. And that says a lot. Phil is not compared to the field. That says a lot right there. Because it's almost like, okay, well, he really has no competition, so we got to knock him against what he looked like previously. And a lot of people said in 2014 and 2015 he was off, but he still won. He still got straight first on all the judges' scorecards. Obviously, he was being compared to himself. He's going to tie Arnold Schwarzenegger and get his 7th, 6 through 10. I think William Bonac will be number 6. Oh, it's a tough one. I take that back. It's going to be either William or Rolly. William Bonac or Rolly Winkler at 6th or 7th. If Rolly comes in conditioned and he takes care of the stomach issues, because sometimes he's just too big and the stomach is a little distended, he'll be knocked down to 7th. Now, in 8th place, I actually have Joshua Lenardowitz from Australia. And at number 9, I have Nathan D'Asher, very young, up and coming bodybuilder. He looks really good. He's a big guy. Same thing with him. You know, that muscle maturity. That's what I meant to say. The muscle maturity. We're just waiting on the muscle maturity with him as well. Because if you look at the way Dexter's muscle looks, it looks different, or Phil, it looks different than some of the younger guys. Their muscle is fresher. it's not aged muscle. It's not refined muscle. They're still adding size. Like Dexter, he doesn't need to add any more size. He just kind of improves on what he has. So it's a very mature look to his muscle. So we're waiting on these younger guys to do the same thing. It's kind of hard sometimes when a mature bodybuilder comes in. He's still big, still conditioned. It's hard to beat him just because of the graininess of his muscle. At number 10, I have Brandon Curry. Brandon Curry has put on he's done some good work this year over there at Oxygen Gym in Kuwait with Beta Budai. You know, all he does is, you know, he brings guys over there and they just train, eat, and sleep. Train, eat, and rest. And that is the perfect recipe to add size. That's every bodybuilder's dream, to get better, get bigger, and improve. Once again, train, eat, and rest. That's the most important parts of the equation when it comes to bodybuilders. Now, as far as out of the top 10, I mean, we got a lot of good bodybuilders there. Lionel Bayeki. I just don't think Lionel has the size to compete with some of the guys, and he always seems to have conditioning issues. It would be nice to see him come in conditioned and full, but either sometimes he's just too flat or he's spilling over. He's one of those guys, it just seems like it's hard for him to get it right on the big stage. And I mean, it is tough, guys. It's tough. Bodybuilding is not easy. But I have Lionel Bayeki. He's going to be in that 11 to 16 range. Let's see. Max Charles, good bodybuilder. He's older. His legs are kind of starting to diminish, but his upper body still looks good. Same thing with Johnny Jackson, older guy. The knock on him has always been the legs for him, but Johnny's upper body, he probably has one of the best top 3, top 5 upper bodies in professional bodybuilding today. I mean, the traps are ridiculous. Just the size, the density is sick. If you know, he could have another guy's legs, I mean, he would be top 5 in Mr. Olympia every single year. That's how good Johnny Jackson's upper body is. And then Victor, man, my buddy Prometheus, that's his guy. Victor Martinez. He's one of those guys, you know, you can really admire. He's dealt with a lot of adversity in his career. The 2007 Mr. Olympia, a lot of people feel like he should have won. Flex was one of those guys. He was very vocal. Flex Wheeler was very angry. He was pissed that Victor didn't win. And Jay was off, but he was a champ. And they felt like Victor couldn't knock him out. So he's also dealt with a couple of deaths in his family. His sister was murdered. His mother had died. He's had, you know, injuries, horrible knee injury. He had a freak accident happen in Mexico. Arm wrestling incident, broke his arm. Right when he had made a comeback, he was locked up. He went to jail, prison for a few months, and he was trying to make his comeback, and that derailed him. He couldn't do the Olympia, but he keeps fighting. Victor Martinez is one of those people, he just perseveres. So I really admire that about him. No matter what, he pushes through. He always shows that you know, if you stay focused and dedicated, you will definitely reap the results of that. That's pretty much it for the men's open. Like I said, in the top 5, I have Dexter Jackson at number 5, Sean Roden at number 4, Big Ramy number 3, Cedric McMillan at number 2, pushing Phil harder than he's ever been pushed, and tying Arnold Schwarzenegger for 7 sandals, Phil Heath will be your 2017 Mr. Olympia. What do you guys think? Who do you think is going to win? Oh, one more thing. Flex Wheeler is making his return to the stage. He's going to be doing men's classic physique. I don't know if you guys have seen Flex on Instagram or social media, but he looks good. He even showed the legs. The legs look like they're on point. He still has those crazy round muscle bellies at 52 years old. So I'm really excited to see how Flex looks on stage compared to the younger guys. It's going to be fun. But other than that, guys, let me know what you think. You think Phil is going to win it again this year? Or do you think one of the other guys is going to come knock out the champ? Do you think Cedric is going to pull it off? You think maybe Ramy is going to pull it off this year? What would really be amazing, and it would be funny to see if the old man, 47 years old, Dexter Jackson, could supplant the champion and win again like he did in 2008, almost 10 years later, and win the Mr. Olympia. That would be a cool way to go out, walk off into the sunset, and retire as the most winning. I think he's already the most winning bodybuilder of all time. He passed up Ronnie for that, I believe, last year. So That would be really cool to see. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys on 2017 Mr. Olympia. Let me know what you think. Who do you think is going to win? Once again, as always, share, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe to BroHammer TV. It's me, BroHammer, signing out.
Olympia, Ronnie, Olympia, Haney, Olympia, Arnold, Mr. Olympia, Dorian.